Hi. Well, you know, in the last few months, I had many conversations with people that were considering migrating some of their RPG code, and basically they had a bunch of doubts about common things like, oh, which language should I target? What should I do with the UI? What with the database? How do we handle CL? How we handle this? How we handle that? And get many conversation. At some point, I started to notice that I was giving answer, I mean, listening to the specificity of the cases, but some parts were sort of automated. I get used to give these kind of answers. And I started to think that maybe it could make sense to write everything down. And partly we have done that in articles that we've written, in reports that we've created, in internal documentation. So we had already a lot of material, right? But I thought it could make sense to invest sometimes to put some order on this material, reflect on which things we were answering most frequently, a few things for which we didn't have yet a great answer, so we wanted to put some reflection on. And the result is a book that I was expecting to be shorter, and instead it became a little longer than I was expecting. Let me see if I can share a few things. This is a draft. Of course, the PDF is called book.pdf because how else could you call it? The temporary title is Migrating RPG Code to Modern Languages. And, you know, the title and the topic of the book is part of growing. Because if I had to write this a few years ago, I would have been still infected by my experiences in the academia and in general as someone thinking too theoretical way. So I would have write, about the principle for migration in general. But no one is interested in migration in general. If not, the other 10 people in the world interested in this niche area, right? Instead, people with a real problem have a very specific problem. They want to migrate RPG code. They don't want to learn about the theory behind the AST transformation. They want to learn about RPG code and connected problem. What do I do with CL? What do I do with the database? And so on. So, it took me a few years to stop writing useless theoretical stuff, writing stuff that I think people can care more directly about. And so, yes, the result is this. So on the table of contents, you can see the process going through LaTeX that brings a lot of horrible memories. But let's forget about LaTeX for one moment. So why we migrate, what happens during a migration, because most people have never gone to a migration. So I have no idea how long should it take, which phases should it have, what are the challenges, what we should do, what should crazy people interested in languages do. I try to share a little bit about this. Then the different kinds of migration, choosing the target language. Now, some clients have a very clear idea about the language they want to target, but others don't. And so we try to share some pointers about this. Then planning the migration. So, before jumping into this, how do we plan for this? Then, the chapter on translating RPG code is unsurprisingly a little bit long. Then focus on data structure, green screens, a lot of questions about green screens, database, CL code, how do we test the migration? That is the favorite question to ask. Then we share a little bit about how do we implement a migration pipeline at Strumenta. The first draft was 3 pages, then things went out of hand, and right now it is 27 pages. And then finally, and this is the chapter that I have still to do the most work on, some lesson learned, tips, suggestions, things to avoid, and so on. Whatever I couldn't fit in the other chapters. So it is where we are at the moment. Instead of preparing carefully, prepare launch, I just plant it off and share it with you. We are revising this. This is the finalized first draft, so I think probably the chapters will not change much. Their content, yes. Hopefully we'll get more clear. Maybe I could even add a picture or two here and there. And we are working hard to push this out, and I hope that in a matter of weeks we will have it out and share it with you. And of course, if any of you is interested in this, if they want to access to a preliminary version, if they want to help us make it better, provide any feedback, I will really, really appreciate it. So if you know of anybody interested in RPG, I would be very grateful if you can share these. And I hope to see comments about this question. Write me an email, ping me on LinkedIn, stalk me on YouTube, whatever. And it turned out to be a lot of work, unsurprisingly. And now it's nice to see this taking shape. There is some LaTeX things we have to fight, like this, the number of the paging appearing twice, and a couple of other LaTeX things to fix. My initial goal was to get it to 100 pages. Then things went a little bit out of hand. So now we are over 200 pages. But from now on, focusing on making things more concise, not adding a lot of new content. So thank you, and see you around, I guess. Bye.